Jay here, Jay Bow's houses. I'm such a dork. I'm such a nerd. All right, Jay here, Jay Buys Houses. 515-809-2274. www.fastfairhomeoffers.com. Today I'm coming to you with a video about how this all works. How do these We Buy Houses work? What do these guys do? How does this work? Okay, I'll explain. So there are many ways we can buy a house. There are many ways we can sell a property. We do this for the money. We're in this for the money. We're not looking to, if you've got a home that's worth $250 and you're asking $250, we don't come in there and pay cash at $250. We're not looking to do favors for everybody out there who just has a house for sale. We would love to, if we were multi-billionaires and we could do that, yeah, of course, we'd love to. However, it doesn't work that way. If you want all cash and you want all cash quickly, you're going to likely accept less than what the house is worth. That's just how it works. So there are ways I can pay full price, but I'm likely going to be taking over your payment, getting you some cash up front, maybe 2, 3, 5, maybe a year's worth of payments possibly. It all depends. Every situation is different. I've done this for 24 years. Every single situation is different. So it all comes down to, how big of a hurry you're in. Do you have equity? Is there any kind of underlying issue that we are fighting against? Foreclosure, divorce, tax, property taxes were sold and there's a situation there where we've got to redeem the tax sale quickly. There's a lot of different variables. But let's say a traditional type of sale, you got a house worth $250, we agree on $210. You're happy with that, I'm happy with that. Property doesn't need a lot of work. Maybe it does need $10,000 or $15,000 to get it in tip-top shape so it can fetch $250 or $260. Great. So we agree on $210. We agree on basically a timeline for that to get done. The very first step is an agreement. So I use a very easy one page, sometimes 2-page, very to the point agreement. Okay, who I am, who you are, the price, the terms, the property itself. What happens if either of us default, and we sign it. Pretty simple. Next step. You take your abstract, or I do, or we have to rebuild one. And your abstract is simply a history of the property. Okay, it's a history from the time that lot was platted to the time you bought it, and everything that happened publicly in the meantime. So, marriages, divorces, bankruptcies, property transfers. You've built a structure on it. You got permits on it. Taxes, all kinds of stuff happens, okay? So the history of the property is in the abstract. It's an 8 by 14 size, legal size packet of paper. It's usually like half an inch to like inch thick. It's a big old packet of papers, okay? So that gets taken to a title company somewhere in Iowa, usually within the county the property's located in. And it gets updated. They add what's called pencil notes to it. And the pencil notes are added to the end of it. Sometimes they repackage the whole thing, put a new cover on it, make it pretty, make it nice. Because sometimes they smell or they've been, jammed in a drawer somewhere. So that gets sent to an attorney, and typically the buyer's attorney, most likely the buyer's attorney. Sometimes it can go to a seller's attorney. That's okay. And they prepare what's called a PTO, preliminary title opinion. And the title opinion will show that you've got vested and marketable title. The title is vested in your name. You are the actual owner. You haven't quitclaim deeded your interest off the property. And you have, no major issues with the property. Maybe you've got a mortgage. Maybe you haven't paid the, September taxes yet, or the March taxes yet, or it's possible there's a missing signature somewhere from the prior issue or closing, and it could be a prior owner you've got to go get a missing signature on. There's all kinds of stuff that can pop up. The big ones that pop up are you're in foreclosure. Okay, that case will have to be dispositioned as dismissed upon closing, meaning that if you owe 180 and I'm buying it for 210 minus some closing costs, whatnot, that 210 is going to go toward that 180 plus attorney fees and all the gobbledygook fees that get added to a payoff quote when you're in foreclosure. That all gets paid off, and then the case will ultimately get dismissed. So that, man, I'm losing a lot of hair. This sucks. I hate getting old. It is what it is. I'm doing what I can. Like, I got like essential oils and stuff I put on there, but yeah, boy, it's hard to fight genetics. Okay, so let's say you got a foreclosure on there. That's going to get paid off. The mortgage company will get paid off because you have ordered a payoff quote, and we've met that deadline. Closing happened. Check would get sent to the mortgage company. Mortgage company would notify their attorney. The attorney would then file a dismissal of the case. So then it's resolved. If you have something bigger like a federal tax lien, any type of federal tax lien, those have to be paid off or negotiated. I can typically negotiate those for around 10%. Takes a little effort, takes a little bit of time. You're going to have to make sure your all tax returns are filed, and et cetera, et cetera. But those can get settled for about 10%. Less if there's no equity in the property, or if you owe, if that same 250 property, the tax lien is $500,000. So sometimes we can get those settled for 5%. So really, really depends. Divorce lien, those have to be paid, released, or settled. Court judgments. Let's say that you had a Capital One credit card for $8,500, and now they sued you. Now you owe $8,500 plus 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% from the time that the judgment was entered against you. That's a lien against your property. That either has to be paid in full, released somehow, settled somehow, or you can do what's called a lien scrub, which is kind of a very particular Iowa code process where it's Iowa code 624.23, and you've got to serve them with a notice of homestead. You've got to file up and record a notice of homestead with the county recorder where your property is located. There's a whole rigmarole to doing that, and it costs you a little money. I've done plenty of those, and you can get rid of the lien part of that judgment, but not the debt itself, unless you have filed bankruptcy and got lien waivers within your bankruptcy for that debt. Okay. There's a lot of other liens that can pop up. Taxes ultimately will get paid. They have to get paid. The county going to get their money. They just are. So no getting around property taxes. You can get around income taxes, like income tax liens, federal, IRS tax liens. You can settle those. They will work with you. They just want their money. They just want money. And if you need a fresh start, they've got a fresh start program. If you're in any kind of IRS trouble, and if the IRS is hassling you at all, you can contact the local taxpayer advocate and request form 911, and they will kind of go to bat for you and get them off your back while you can work out some kind of a solution to your issue. So hope that helps. So once the attorney prepares a title opinion and it lists all the things that you've got to do, as a buyer, I typically help with that. I help you do that. That's part of the consideration of the joinder that will bind me to the agreement, bind you to the agreement as well. I will typically help you solve any title problems. I've done this 24 years. I've removed almost every kind of lien or issue with a property title. There have been some where people have passed away, and boy, you have to do a quiet title action to reestablish property or title into your name, and it can be a real mess. It can take a lot of time to get some things figured out. But anyway, so once you have submitted all the documents to the attorney who has prepared the title opinion, in order for title to be clear upon closing. Closing happens where everybody signs their part, brings in their funds, or brings in whatever they've got to bring in order to prove clear title and close the transaction. You'll get a closing statement ahead of time showing where all the numbers are, where all the payments are going, where all the fees are getting paid, all that stuff. The abstract fee, which is typically $450 up to, boy, it could be $2-3 grand. It depends on how old the property is, where it's located, and if you have the abstract or not. So if you have the abstract, that's always best. Boy, and I'll tell you real quick, one of the best abstractors that I've ever dealt with, especially in Polk County, Bill Blue and Associates. Great people, super fast, highly professional, ultra responsive, great people. Okay, so once everything has been submitted to that attorney and he's okay that you have cleared all the title objections, which is you've submitted documents saying, hey, here's that payoff from the mortgage company, here's a lien release from the IRS to settle that lien. Here's that missing affidavit that you needed for, because that judgment's that's not mine, it's a different John Smith, just happens to be, a common name. That's not mine. The attorneys can say, okay, title's ready to close. Or I'm sorry, then you get a notification that you can close and you schedule a closing. It used to be everybody would go close and sign at the same time. You'd sit across the table from one another and you would look at each other and everybody would sign and you try to make small talk, chit chat, get jibber jabber and, do your thing. But nowadays, for the most part, the deed from the seller to the buyer has to be notarized. It's got to be a live signature in front of a notary public. So, but that can happen before you take it to the attorney's office. That's okay. You can take all the documents you're supposed to take to the attorney's office. Buyer brings all their documents. Oh, the creme brulee's done. Hold on a second. That's for tonight. So once everybody does their part, the buyer brings in their funds or whatever happens, or a buyer's partner brings in the funds, then and only after everybody signs does the seller get their check, typically, or a wire transfer into your account. But that's not going to happen until everybody has signed their part, all funds have been brought in for closing, and all documents are within the deadline and timeline of that closing. So, because payoffs expire, a release may expire. So, or a settlement type release may expire if it's the IRS or a divorce situation where a judgment holder says, yeah, we'll accept $1,000 on that $8,500 judgment, but we got to have it by November 15th or whatever. So then that's it. Possession typically happens immediately after that. Sometimes it can be, a day or so later if you needed the money in order to hire a moving truck or get a U-Haul and get your possessions out. That's okay. That typically happens. So, but generally that's it. So that's how a traditional type of transaction happens in real estate, in my world and in this world. So can things come up in the meantime that can affect that or delay that? All day, every day, and it happens. So, but you got to deal with a buyer who has seen title issues and knows how to deal with title problems and knows how to settle like IRS liens, tax liens, divorce liens, commercial, UCC code type paper stuff, filings like that. Everything can really be negotiated. But I hope that helps. If you have any kind of issue at all with your title or the property itself, if you've had a bad inspection and you can't get the property sold, the buyer's backing out or whatever, give Jay a call. I would love to look at it. I would absolutely leave you in a more knowledgeable position whether I buy the property or not. So you know how to go forward, whether we're doing business or not. But I'd love to work with you if possible. Let's talk. 515-809-2274 or you can chat with me online completely anonymously if you'd prefer. www.fastfairhomeoffers.com. God bless. I love you. Have a great day.